Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Azureish Live. My name is Liam Gulliver, and joining me are my good friends and co-hosts, Pete Gallagher and Jonathan Rolfe.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
And on this occasion, what we're going to do is we're going to try and build a Git watcher. Ultimately, what that'll do is we've got a GitHub repo over on Azureish Live's GitHub. You could go there right now, which is github.com/Azureish Live /Git watcher. There won't be anything really in there right now, but what we're going to be doing is building that up as we go, and that's really the theme of the show. So the show is, if you've ever watched like Junkyard Wars or Scrap Heap Challenge, we're going to set ourselves challenges to build stuff with Microsoft Tech in Azure over an hour every other week, every other Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. UK time, and see how far we get really, and go from there. Now we all have different backgrounds. Largely, I myself started out as a developer in .NET many years ago, and now I consult in DevOps and that kind of thing. So I am somewhat rusty here. Jonathan, it might be worth you giving a bit of an intro to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, certainly my before my solutions architect days, I was definitely starting off in development, C# developer, predominantly back-end systems, then moved into operations, which is where I too picked up DevOps credentials. So yes, definitely Microsoft stack. But yes, the use of Visio and Excel possibly more so than VS Code these days, but I still keep my hand in, so hopefully it'll all come flooding back.
Yeah, you're well versed with the number of column limit, I guess.
Oh yes, oh yeah. In terms of exceeding that, I've broken Google Sheets on a number of times with formulae that fill in on my behalf. So yeah, pivot. I can excel in pivot tables that strain the sides. So I fully sympathise with that.
What a horrible problem.
But yes, so that's me.
I like it. I'm in the IoT space primarily. I do some DevOps work, but nowhere near enough as I should do. So I tend to be sort of down at the nuts and bolts levels of creating IoT solutions for clients, amongst other things. But that's my primary space as IoT. So yeah, there's a little bit of Git in there as well, which should help for today. But mostly it'll be me searching Stack Overflow, I'm sure.
Yeah. So one thing that's probably worth mentioning at this point in the show, we do have a competition running at the moment. We'll be picking a winner at the end of the show, but if you follow us on Twitch and Twitter and then retweet one of our competition tweets, which will be fairly easy to find, you can win one of the fantastic t-shirts that both Pete and I are sporting. And we'll draw that at the end of the show. So I guess, gentlemen, let's kind of get right into it and see how we get on. So let's take a look. So we should, if all of the kind of duct tape solution that I have right now, should transition that to a whiteboard. Let's doodle out what we want to do. So what's our flow here, chaps?
Well, I suppose predominantly we are making use of GitHub as our source of data. So we need to start with how we're going to consume the changes. The idea behind this is that we want to try and generate a piece of software that will help us visualize where we make changes on Azureish Live so that we can display those on the Twitch stream, on the video, so that we can see, as everybody can see as we're committing stuff where we've got up to. It also is a reminder to us to check in frequently and often, which of course is a great thing to do.
Yes.
But yeah, so we need
it live, right?
Exactly. So we need a source of we're probably going to be looking for webhooks in GitHub to actually tap into this. We'll need some sort of listener on that. The thoughts we had were somewhere like a function app, maybe something to consume that. There are many ways of consuming webhooks in the Azure platform, be that logic apps, be that function apps, be that app services themselves. And then we need something to turn it into a visual. Now, OBS, which an awful lot of streamers use, has the ability for us to monitor browser as an input, which also I think comes with the benefit of having an auto alpha back. So whatever the default background is of your screen, it will alpha that out and become transparent anyway. So it makes sense that we just try and produce some sort of web front end quickly to consume that in, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, we could, I guess, in terms of the web front end, we could host that fairly well for basically pennies, if that.
Yeah,
in
that's certainly the
terms
massive
of
the consumption plan.
Yeah, I mean, once we've got consumption plans for the Function app, and then there's also for that web page, we could store it in a static site storage account.
Yeah,
I appreciate we also have a small cameo from Dougal.
Oh yeah, sorry, he is helping. Yeah, he's preparing for tier 3 lockdown by working out how best to sleep.
That makes sense. I'm disappointed in his lack of merch, though. Not on brand.
He is
maybe
brand.
that's a route we need to go down and look at pet accessories.
Just set the alpha color to an off orange, and then you can.
And there's your cat bed for him. Yeah, okay.
That'll work. I quite like that. So you mentioned webhooks for monitoring the Git commit. Does GitHub Actions give us anything better for that, or?
I think GitHub Actions is probably too late in the day. You know, that I guess we could stash something or trigger something, should I say? But I think let's go and have a look. So if we go into settings for the repo, we have a webhooks thing in here. So there's like a whole guide around that as well from the look of things. But if we go into add webhook, I guess we can shunt whatever event comes out straight to the logic app. So before we even get as far as an action, as long as that commit has happened into main, we should get that JSON at the other end, and then we're dealing with whatever comes out of that event on the JSON.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could also say, so like we've got let me select individual events.
Just for reference, I don't see the settings for the Git Watcher repo there.
Let's do manage access then, and invite teams and or people. And let's add Pete.
This is the whole point of this being live.
Well,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
These are real world things. So I suppose at the moment is the secret thing something that gets added as on the URL, or is it in the headers? It'd be interesting. We need to research a bit of that to work out, because with function apps we're just going to have presumably just do simple auth for the moment while we're building this.
Simple auth would be fine. I'd have thought. The interesting thing is, so if we want to make this reusable, is how do we? And it might be a future thing that we don't necessarily do right now, but it's how do we go about making it dynamic enough so that when we come to our next show in a couple of weeks' time and we're building something else, we just point that webhook at. Well, no, yeah, I guess I've just asked my own question. We just point that webhook at the same URL.
Mm.
And we have a secret admin function key or something like that, maybe.
So is that secret just something we can put whatever we want in there? Is it obfuscated? No, it's not.
No, I don't think it is. Do you mean the function secret?
When you add a webhook, there's a secret. I've not done webhooks for GitHub before, so I'm learning
me neither.
as I go there. So that secret there, I'm assuming, is a form of authentication, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Does it say?
So I mean, I guess what we can do is we could create something in dev right now, and then when we go to do the real thing, we'll do it, properly. We won't see secrets.
Yeah, I mean, if we can sort of keep it as, I mean, there's a secret token. You can set up a secret token here and all sorts. Probably if we just leave it unsecured, because assuming that people aren't going to start spamming us with all sorts of stuff, but that'd be a good problem to have, because then people are watching. But,
Well, I mean, I guess you could probably put repository secrets in. I don't know how you can consume those repository secrets as part of a webhook push, but maybe that's something that we figure out as we go as well.
yeah, there's a page here. It'd be good if we had a way of sharing links between each other, because obviously all we can do is see your screen at the moment as far as viewing web pages is concerned.
Chuck it me in Slack.
Stick it in Slack or the Teams meet.
Yeah,
or straight into the whiteboard.
Can you edit that though, or does it not let you edit that? I don't think it does. That's just useful to be able to paste that in there, but not very useful anywhere else. But yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I can't do anything with that.
No, you can look at it. Oh, that's a pretty URL. It's rather large. Yeah. I'm not typing that in.
Give it a thumbs up. Is that any good?
Yeah,
you can triple click on it and select it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got that, so I can. Let's do a new tab.
A new tab? What, in Whiteboard? Or in Edge?
Edge.
In Edge. Well, okay. I mean, I've switched to Firefox, so I can use that Azure Mask extension more easily. But
what does that give you? What does that give you? The Edge one doesn't.
What, Firefox?
No, yeah, the extension works in Edge.
Oh, it just means I don't have to sideload it into Edge because I.
Oh no, you don't need to sideload it into Edge. Only Chrome.
Oh, Edge is now Chromium based, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it still works.
Okay.
Whatever they've done, yeah, just works. No sideloading required.
In which case, I didn't look very far this morning.
Hey, we've got lives. Just for reference, in the background, we've got a Slack channel that Jonathan, Liam, and myself are a member of. So we're going to sling links in there, but we will try and make it obvious where you should be able to see on the screen when Liam's using his browser. You should be able to see what link we're going to there. But I guess we can put some sort of show notes out that have got links to stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, so Louise in the chat has actually made a good point, because I forgot to mention it at the top of the show, is one, we can put our links directly into the Twitch chat as well. So or people can put links to us, potentially. I can't remember if I turned that off or not. But one of the things that we really want to encourage with this show is, whilst we're building stuff, and you can go to those repos and everything else, is you can actually get involved as well. So you can fork our repo, you can make a pull request, and we'll look at taking that into what we're doing live on the show as well. So if you want to essentially follow along at home or get involved at home, you're more than welcome to, with whether that's a little thing like we're doing right now or something slightly more complex. You can do, and we're going to open up all our repositories for what's left of Hacktoberfest as well.
Yeah, how many days have we got left of that? 4.
4, yeah.
Saturday, is that Saturday? Last day.
Couldn't get more live if we tried.
No,
yes,
no, exactly.
Yeah. So let's add that Hacktoberfest topic, because I think that's all you need to do for opening up.
So while you're doing that, go on, Jonathan, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I've just tripped over a very useful Microsoft Learn module on monitoring GitHub events by using a webhook with Azure Functions.
Fantastic.
Or do we cheat and just follow that then?
You say follow, I say be inspired by.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But I'm getting 100 XP for just reading it. Let's put it that way.
Send us a link then. Let's have a look. Oh, is that what you pasted in the
I have just already posted it. Yep. So we can. So there is a module called Monitor GitHub Events by using a webhook with Azure Functions.
Perfect.
So we may as well stand on the shoulder of giants and look at what it's talking about. And again, as it's confirming exactly what Liam was saying about the JSON payload. There are 2 different types of payload. There's application/JSON, and there is also a URL encoded form as well, with a form parameter called payload. But considering we can just use the JSON directly, it's something that I've done recently. So mainly because that was more with the use of JSON in Logic Apps. Logic Apps parses JSON far better than other payloads. So I was making use of a CSV to JSON converter in Azure Function Apps, which was quite handy. What's next? So it's suggesting that we can just point to the HTTP trigger with the code in the URL. So the code being the secret authentication.
Okay. So I mean, there's also a secure payload with a secret thing there, isn't there? So,
Yes,
I guess let's start with creating an Azure function in VS Code. I think that's the easiest thing to do.
Good place to start.
And that's remembering how to do that is also a good place to start as well. So if I open up the terminal here, so everybody should be able to see that, I think, although that's not very readable. So let's switch to that one and go to Git Watcher. And what we're doing, we're creating a new Azure function. So from
Liam,
yes,
can you zoom in with your font, please, up your font size? I'm monitoring the Twitch stream and it's a little small. How do you get the chat to appear in Twitch?
There's a tiny arrow pointing out collapse and yeah.
I've got it. Yep.
That's much better, Liam. Thank you.
Cool. So what are we doing? We're creating a new Azure function. So I think we're likely to use something like Azure Functions v3 at the moment. That's the latest one.
Mm-hmm. There is that Azure function extension.
Yeah, that's what I use.
I normally do create a new project in
Visual Studio Code instead.
Yeah, in Visual Studio Code.
Yep.
So
all of the people who are CLI fans are going, no.
Well, I know you can do .NET New. That's fine.
Yeah. Go on.
So let's create a new project for now. So we're going to create a new project and get it in Git Watcher and C#, I assume, because that's kind of what we're all used to.
Yes, please.
And it's going to be a HTTP trigger, I believe. And we'll call this Commit Watcher.
Yeah, in our live share session, of course, we can't see what you're doing in your palette. So I'm monitoring the Twitch session to be able to see that. White text on a pale green background is an interesting highlight choice, Louise is saying.
That's just that's what the thingy's done. Visual Studio Code has done to the terminal, and I don't know why it's done that at the moment.
Hey, the power of live share.
Yeah.
You can now see all
so
your
you should
code.
now see all of that. So this is just the default setup. There are unresolved dependencies. Please restore. Yeah. Okay, let's restore those.
It's not had a build yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so what we've got here, so we've got just the default code for a C# HTTP trigger function. Let me just check what flavor of, it's defaulted to version 2, but that's probably okay for now.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't need to worry too much about, so long as it's not using some preview alpha thingy, it'll be okay. Probably best to use whatever it just gives you out of the box anyway, in case anybody wants to have a go themselves.
Now, my minimum viable product head would deploy this, even though it's just a hello world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think I absolutely
just to prove that we can actually get it out the door before we go
sign into Azure.
So you should be able to do that with the Azure extension, and it should give you functions as part of that, I think.
Which we now have. There you go. So we want to deploy this, yeah?
Yep.
I can't remember how to do this deploy. We've got this local one. We want to run the build task to update this list. Okay, so let's do, is it in terminal? We'll just do .NET build, isn't it? .NET build.
I do have to say that my love for .NET CLI does increase. I mean, as much as I pointed to the extension, it is nice to just go back to simple commands to just build, run, deploy, and the AZ command stuff. I do enjoy using the CLI a lot.
Yeah, certainly creating new projects and stuff that's way easier than file new project in Visual Studio. Just .NET new, whatever you want, Blazor Wasm or whatever, and or console, and you're off and running it. As long as you can remember what they are, but there is useful help. But of course, I think my main reason for not using a CLI in the past has just been my memory is terrible. So other than those ones I've just mentioned, if I just have to guess, and by the time you're guessing, and if you get it wrong, there you're looking, and you'd have done file new project in Visual Studio. So it's that sort of thing. If you're doing it all the time, it's okay.
That's the beauty of the command palette, isn't it? In that sense, the fact that even if you can't remember the command exactly, you can type something in and it'll give you options.
Yeah. It's disappointing that the Twitch chat, if you were to pop that out, doesn't have a history. So you pop it out and you lose the entire history of your chat in Twitch, which is a bit disappointing. You'd have thought that that experience would be better. Yeah. You
might find that Liam's experience is different being the host. I don't know.
Maybe.
If the host
I've got Stream Manager and all that fun stuff open to one side. So just whilst we've been talking, what we've got is our I've got the function going.
Yep.
And what we've got as part of that is I've gone and signed into Azure. I've got the build run, and I've now told it to go and create a function app, and I've done that through all the command palette for now. Normally in the real world, I'd create an ARM template or a Terraform template, or be really bleeding edge and create something through Bicep. But for the purpose of the show today, I just want to do it quickly. So I've gone through that. I've now clicked I've gone right click, deploy to new Azure function. I'm filling out. Well, I filled out all the information, so what it's going to be called and so on. And at the moment, it's actually going through and deploying that into Azure. Which we'll go and have a look at in just a second. I don't know what resource group it's going to go to because it didn't ask me.
No, I can see it in the right one. I can see it. I've refreshed my.
But that's the thing that I was going to mention, that you're right that normally you might want to use an ARM template, but what I found interesting about the one-click sort of deploy is that it's helpful that it's taken this task on and created the storage account and created the app insights. But again, you're not necessarily aware of how that's all wired up. And so in some respects, as a learning exercise, yes, getting the hello world thing that we've just done out into the real world is great. But then you need to spend a bit of time understanding what's being created in your name, I think, because I found it super interesting to work out the fact that it's using the storage account for also for the metrics as well as the hosting, and the way that I had to specify the service plan type as the service family to make sure it was on consumption and not on a always on app service plan. So there's an awful lot of layers underneath what seems to be trivially simple now. I mean, Visual Studio Code extensions have made it so quick to post to function, but especially where where there may be in the future costs involved, it's still worth doing a bit of homework yourself to understand what's being created in your name.
For sure, yeah. So, I mean, let's take a look let's just drop back to code. So that's still deploying at the moment.
Sure.
The output window for status. Deployment is successful, and now it's syncing all the triggers.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can see different. The terminal in VS Code, and I can see slightly different things to what you're seeing, of course.
Yeah, I'm getting the edited highlights, but it's cool that Live Share actually gives us the status of what Liam's up to.
To a degree, mine's determining projects to restore and all projects are up to date, and then I've got a couple of Git Watcher, DLL, and publish, and then that's it. But that's different, I think.
It's exactly what I've seen.
Yeah.
So
I think Liam's seeing something different.
I might see just like the output and stuff like that, maybe. But you can also, I don't know if you're able to change the drop down that you've got in terms of what's in the output.
Liam, switch to your terminal tab just to see whether instead of the output tab that you're on at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because it's exactly the same. So all we're seeing, Pete, is we don't get the streamed output diag.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
We get to see the same terminal as Liam. Interesting.
So I'm just looking in the drop down where mine's on C# at the moment, but I was looking at the drop down to see if there was a live share output we could see, because that sounds like a pretty basic thing. Test Explorer live share I can see, but I can't see any live share output. That would be really useful to be able to see that.
Well,
feedback, Microsoft.
So let's take a look at the function itself. See if we can get all the keys and stuff now. So it will have. So we can copy the function URL, and here is a Postman that I opened earlier. So let's open that.
Very good Blue Peter style. Well done.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. So let's go and create a new request. So this should. So let's just double check our code. So our default is to look for a name in the query string, and we're just going to go, okay. Well, why is that picking up localhost? Actually, that's a good question. So we want the real deal one, don't we?
Yeah, we're going to need the URL.
That's because I'm looking at local project, and that's no use to anybody. Copy function URL.
Did you get that as feedback in your terminal, maybe, or are we going to have to use a portal? Oh, there we go.
No, yeah. So you can right click and get it out of Azure.
The extension, can't you?
Code, yeah.
Nice.
So name equals Azureish live.
I can't quite see what you've written there. Have you got a question mark?
He has got a
I
question
do have
mark.
a question
Yes.
mark. Yes.
Okay, cool.
That doesn't seem very happy to me, given the slowness. Is it?
Does it want to post rather than a get? Or
Well, it should accept both. Looking at it. So if we zoom in a little bit, there you go. Let's close the terminal. So yeah, it should just be wanting a get or a post there.
oh, okay. Do those two things do something different? In that, does it not respond when I get ought to do exactly what you'd expect? But I don't know, because we're going to be posting stuff to it rather than, I don't know, personally.
Oh yeah, quite. So why is that? Oh, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's just go there. Page isn't working. 401. So what we don't have, well, rather we've got the Azure function code there, which is interesting.
Does it want all of that rubbish at the end of it? Does it?
Yeah,
Or
it
is it
wants
just the
this
URL?
whole thing. So let's go and grab it from the portal instead and see if that makes a difference.
I don't remember seeing all of that stuff at the end.
Say, there's some extra escaped characters at the end, isn't there?
Yep.
%3D. I'm not sure what.
I don't think you need any of that personally. I think maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah, so let's grab it from inside here as well. So here we are with our subscription. We should have our functions in here as well. There's commit watcher, there it is. And then we can get our function. No, we want to get our function URL when it loads. The default function key, yeah. So let's copy that out. And if we go, oh yeah, it should still change it, right? So if we go to here, we can see that it's
signs.
No, there is loads of stuff in there.
There we go.
Name equals Azureish live. Nothing back. So let's take a look at what the code's doing. So this is just, it should output this in the response, right? It should be, it triggered successfully with a hello Azureish live.
Yep.
Now, are we, in all honesty, are we just doing it wrong?
That's weird. Why is that not working then?
Oh, I know why it is, because you know what we're doing? We've already got a question mark, haven't we? We're not doing ampersand.
Of course we have.
Thing.
Well done. Double query string.
Yeah. We do name.
Welcome to real world code development.
Live.
Oh yeah, that works. Yeah, you're right. Just put the ampersand and that's fixed it. You do need all that code at the end of it, and I don't remember having to use all that code before for function app.
I think it
What's
depends on the sort of function you're doing. So we've gone with a function key here, right? So if I go there, there's hello Azureish live, and you can tell live in real time just how rusty we are. So
is that because of the way you've set that function app up?
Yeah,
So
I've told it
Right.
to use a function key, yeah.
Yeah, it says the authorization level right at the top in the square brackets. If we go back to the code, is authorization level.function.
Yeah.
So just to be sure, is that going to work with webhooks properly?
So I think so, yeah. Based on, so we can either do two things. Is my understanding. So we can put that whole URL in,
So, for example, we could
Place.
change that to, you can't see my drop down, but for example, there is anonymous is one of the options, which wouldn't require any authorization at all. He says, misspelling anonymous. But yeah, the function one that comes default from that template allows us to then, once deployed, it actually it insists on that key. And because it's part of the URL rather than a header, it's simply enough for us to suffix.
Okay, so we can see that that's working. So that our MVP is we now have a function that does something.
Yep.
But we really want to put together the function now for what we're actually going to consume. You know, so we know that we've got our commit watcher, and we know that we're going to have a big chunk of JSON coming back from GitHub.
Let's just spit it out on the screen for now, then. And
yes,
I can't
think
do
that would probably be better if we just change this hello world to just effectively do request body. If we just dumped request body out instead of looking for name.
We're not going to see it though, are we? I've just said that and then kicked myself because it's going to get triggered by a webhook. There's no output.
Yeah, but so we could just do commit back, can't we? We can send a commit straight back to GitHub to trigger it.
Well, we won't see the output though, will we?
Pete's point is that we're triggering it in Postman or a web browser at the moment, so we wouldn't see the response, which is correct.
From GitHub. But what we can do is we can write to the log,
we've got. Well, that's what we're doing. We're writing right now the response to screen. So if I drop back to Firefox, this is coming out to screen.
Oh yeah, but when we commit to GitHub and it hits that webhook, what are we going to see? We're not going to see an output, are we?
Of course, yeah.
But we can see it in the log, so we can log.
Actually, I think from diddling around with this a little bit before, is you can get in GitHub itself the response back to debug your webhooks. Oh really?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let's have a look at that then, shall we?
I was going to say the alternative is that I make use of a website called webhook.site, which gives you a unique GUID for anything posted to it live. So in which case we could hook GitHub up to webhook.site temporarily, just so that we could inspect the JSON that we get if there isn't a debug function in GitHub.
Well, I don't think we need to. I think all we need to do is stick the contents out in that log information and just look at the log and shortcut some of that. So we literally can just put log information, and then you can take your request body and just what have we got there?
So we've got
let's just put that whole thing in.
That data part, yeah.
Push event, individual events, because we don't want.
Well, no, I think we put the request body in there maybe.
Where?
I don't know because it's deserializing it. That data is an object, isn't it? What's it going to do when we try and log an object? Lowercase l for log, by the way. That's why it's complaining.
So I'm going to create the webhook then whilst we're doing that. So I'm only going to do it specifically to pushes at the moment to the repo. If I add webhook, so that's all in there right now.
Let's have a look. I see it. And have you got?
So we need to. So I've just added in line 27.
Yeah.
A log information request body.
Okay.
So if we need to commit and push that.
Okay. So that makes sense to me.
Chicken and the egg.
Go for it. Yeah. Anybody, any one of us can do that. I can do that on the screen if we want people to see that.
Well, you need push it to the function app first, and then commit, and then see what it does.
Okay. So let's do a deploy.
I don't know whether or not that webhooks in GitHub will automatically know that there is already URL parameters in that payload URL, and whether it'll stick an ampersand. That's why I was asking earlier whether it'll work, whether we need to append an ampersand at the end so that it knows. We'll see, I suppose. But if it doesn't work at all, then hopefully that webhook debug you were talking about will help us. If there is such a thing, I don't see it there, but.
Well, we're just chucking in aren't we? So we've got.
To be fair, the example that we did, we forced a query parameter on the end of the URL because we wanted to have access to the name property. Whereas in this case, it's just going to post the JSON to the body, isn't it?
Yeah, we want the whole. The whole request body.
So it's not going on. It's not a.
It's not URL encoded. No.
Oh, good. That's fine then.
We can stream the logs of the function app as well. So if we do stream logs, something should happen. Maybe, probably. But let's do a pushback. So we've done a git add, git commit -m test commit.
Oh yeah, that vanilla code that we had in that scaffolded code is either going to grab from the request body the name, or it's going to grab it from the URL. I see that. I just missed that when I was doing that. We just didn't try it with the body part in Postman, did we? We just tried the URL encoded version in Firefox.
So we've pushed that up now. So if I drop back into Studio Code, should get some log output at some point soon. But for now, let's go into the webhooks so we can see what the webhook is doing. So if we refresh that, we've got a little tick now to say it was successful. Let's go into here, recent deliveries. And we can have we have a whole JSON in here. So let's
very nice
zoom in. So really, I guess all we want to have happen at the bottom of the screen is when we've got it, is something like where we've got our bar or whatever it is at the bottom. And that was a terrible drawing. Let's redo that because that was awful.
Have you not turned on drawing to shape, so it makes you a nice?
I have, yeah, but nothing can save me from my terrible Jesus. Let me just. It's ink to shape is on. Let me just enable it.
That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah. So let's go. So we've got a bar at the bottom of the screen. That's not even remotely close to what I was trying to draw, but fine. So I guess what we want is like a commit ID, like the first few characters, who did it.
Yeah.
So, and then commit message.
Yeah. And I suppose what we're going to have to work out is we're going to have to truncate after a number of characters, aren't we? Maybe even append an ellipsis on the end of it, maybe. So if we take the first, say, 20 characters of the commit message and put an ellipsis on the end if it's longer. Thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess let's just get the
How about timestamp? Is timestamp more useful than commit GUID, commit ID?
No, because we're always going to take the latest one anyway, aren't we? That's our main.
Okay.
So
right,
I mean, we've got a few things to change. So I guess all we really want out of it, as a base right now, is to get the last commit. So
yes,
just scroll down. I was reading a little bit about this earlier just to be on the safe side. So we've got the pusher. So who's pushed it? We've got the organization, all the sender, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
But there's an easy way to get the latest commit because there's this head commit object. And it has everything about that latest commit on head. And that's the only part of that JSON that we really care about, I guess.
Yep.
Because we've got that, we've got the ID, we've got the message, and we've got the author information.
Perfect.
And I guess we go from there. Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the in the portal, in the app at the monitor, and I can see that invocation for the function in the portal as well. Right. I don't know if you want to show that.
So we in the resource group, it created an Azure monitor, didn't it? Is that what the thing you're looking at, the app insights?
No. Well, maybe no. But if you go into function apps, and of course I can't see what you're doing, and then go to the commit watcher function app, and then go into the actual function, and then click on that commit watcher, and then monitor. And maybe there's another way around, but this gets you there. And when that finishes loading, then there's two options here. One of them is that you can view the live logs, but it also should give you the, what's that being so slow? Should also give you the invocation details as well.
Okay.
Because
Well,
because we're doing a live code demo, Pete. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. People are watching, so they like to wait.
You know that it inversely affects the amount of time anything takes to do.
Yep.
You've
Click
done,
that
you've
top
done,
one.
it, you've done enough demos to know that.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. That's...
Click on that log as well, and we should be able to see that.
See it, okay.
Excuse me.
That's pretty good. Okay, so
it's getting that's that log. That should be that log we created in.
Yeah.
That we added rather. That request body should be what we can see there. So that should be what we're getting.
I'll drop out to. So we've got App Insights in there as well. I don't know if it's automatically instrumented when you set it all up, because it has gone and said, "Here you go. Here's App Insights." But you see server requests in there. If I go to logs, yeah, we're not getting logs out yet. But failures, anything?
So probably one thing we could take baby steps here, and obviously we're already getting that object, that data there. So we know that we want the GUID and we want who checked it in, and was that the commit message there. So let's grab those 3 objects and stick them in the log, and just make sure that we can get those.
So I guess looking at, is there any hierarchically above header, the one that you were just showing us as to the useful bit of the JSON payload? Is there anything above that as a parent JSON wrapper?
I'm going to prettify the JSON.
Yes,
I think paste that was.
No, actually, I don't think there is. I think it's literally, so looking at it, we have our start of the payload.
So in theory,
parent against it.
That's the parent, yeah.
Unless it's commits, maybe.
No, it looks like it starts off.
It's in commits.
Where are you looking? I'm just looking at the JSON that we've got there, and you get a ref before and after.
Then sorry.
A repository and an under repository. We can get that. That's all right. So it looks like it's this is the beauty of live share, isn't it? So it looks like it's in, like a spell repository.
Cool.
Dot, and then what are you after? We're after the ID first. That should be the GUID. Although there's 2.
Isn't that the ID of the repo, not the commit?
No, you're right. Yep. So where is?
We still need head commits, don't we? Head _commit was the thing that Liam pointed out.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right, actually, because where does it fall under, though? No, you're right. Look at this. Like, it's right. It's that. You are right. It's that. Is that what you had before?
No, do we not? No. We want to go here, don't we? So if I change that to head _commit, that's the one you want, right? That's the latest one, and that's at the.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'd start with. But the beauty of this is that we are using a dynamic object, and I find it's interesting that we're still including Newtonsoft as the default JSON deserializer, even though we've now got obviously system.json.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Which still can't do dynamic.
So I'm going to take out all the
system.text.json. I mean,
whilst you were doing that, I'm going to take out all the name stuff, the precursor bits.
Yep, and that log can go as well above it. We don't need that anymore. It's just going to make things confusing. Can we all edit this file at exactly the same time?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we're doing it right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So you wanted that.
Yep.
Is it ID? Yeah, it is ID. And then the author, I guess.
Yep. And then we want commit message.
That's author.name. You probably want to put that to string as well.
Should we just do username? I don't think we need to string it, do we?
Yeah, users probably.
I think
usernames.
you might do.
Well,
we'll try and see.
Try and see.
Number.
I mean, to be fair, log.log information will likely try and parse the object anyway, even if it wasn't string.
I think one thing that we probably want to do as part of this is not get the full commit ID anyway. So it's going to be like, so we could do dot.
Do dot left.
String dot substring. There we go.
Where's the IntelliSense gone?
That's a good question.
You're on a dynamic object. there is no
Oh yes, of
IntelliSense.
course, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, if we change
Good
that
point.
to a, what is this? It's going to be a string. If we change that to a string, does that give you that IntelliSense then after that?
No, it won't, because we don't have the object, do we? And that's the thing.
No.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah,
Sounds
exactly.
like
But the fact we got 2 string though should be giving you IntelliSense for strings, surely.
Oh, what a nice land you live in your head.
I think it should.
I mean, I don't
suppose-
think you're necessarily incorrect, but
So is the default normally the first 8 characters of the commit ID?
yeah, I think so. So like if we go into, so if I show on my screen now, if I go into GitHub, we drop back to the code, so it'll show our latest commits and so on. Yeah, you get those 8 characters there on the latest head commit there. So it should be D13447F.
Oh yeah, cool. And what are we going for next?
It's just
The commit message itself.
Okay, cool.
are we gonna let's just take the whole thing for the moment. I was going to start preemptively taking the first X characters, but let's have that problem when a nice problem to have. That could be a user interface problem rather than a.
No, I'd say add it. I'd say stick it on. Do it. Just give it first 10 characters or something and eat again.
Okay.
We know we don't want all of it, so
I'll even put a full stop, maybe.
I beat you to
Oh,
it.
what's going on? What what's going on? This is.
You do realise that mob programming normally is still only one person driving, yeah?
That's true. Yes, yeah. For the folks at home, here's a lesson in what not to do.
What you do is plug 3 keyboards into the same PC.
It's a 3 mice I want to see plugged into the same PC.
So if we want to change our response message now. So let's go with our response message is then yes, yeah, we can check for nulls and stuff like that, but I'm not going to bother right now. I don't think.
Hold on, have we broken live share? Because at the moment I've got that commit message line is gobbledygook.
No, I've still got it. So maybe you're just going to catch up in a minute, Pete.
Yeah.
No, I can see you changing the response message underneath, but yeah, mine's very oddly. That's weird. I've broken it on mine. Then I'll tell you what, I'm going to close it. Oh dear.
Are you sure you want to do that, Pete?
Yeah, no, because now it's asking me if I want to save it.
Say no, because I've got all your changes anyway.
Let's have a look. I'll just open it back up again now. Oh, that's interesting then. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's better. That looks better. Just uncovered the limitations of live share.
Okay, so let's save all of that. I guess.
Publish it to the function. Oh, that's the response message. Do we want to stick that in the log then?
Not right now. I don't think. Let's just get it out. So make sure we're getting something back.
So we'll see that.
Now, we'll see that in the response section of GitHub. Now that Liam's pointed out, we can see the responses in the interface.
So I'm going to just deploy it.
Make it so.
Now I'm on the recent deliveries section. I wonder, does that automatically populate, or have I got to keep refreshing the page? Huh, that's weird. Do you know my GitHub extension has now got about 27 instances of Gitwatcher in there,
Okay.
weirdly, and with varying amounts of check-ins required. Loads of different changes. What's that?
Interesting.
Well, it must be about 15. That's weird.
Oh, yeah, so same here. I've got 160 changes pending in my.
Yeah.
Is that because we're making the changes? We're literally making the changes on my machine, and you haven't pulled down those changes to your local copies if you've got local copy?
Maybe every time you're committing, it's doing a new snapshot.
All right. What about if I did a pull? I wonder would it. Oh, I can't even do that.
I was going to say, because surely that would just execute the pull across. No, it was.
I can't do that. I can't even. Usually there's a pull, isn't there?
I'm going to push those changes back up.
See if all 100 of these disappear again.
Or if I've just given you a bunch more.
Yeah, maybe.
My terminal's
here we are.
on waiting for the project to restore.
Yeah, mine is. Yeah, Terminal's had it.
webhooks. Just made a push back. Deliveries 20:01, so that's right now. Here we are. That was successful. Got all that stuff in, and our response is there we go, lads. That's look at that.
Nice.
It's almost like we can pretend we know what we're doing. So
it's not only that, but I think what I like about this example is that we're actually, using that phrase, eat your own dog food. I mean, the fact that we're using Git to test our own Git watcher.
Yeah.
It's not like we had to have a dummy project to drive this. It's even better.
So that's good. So, go on.
Sorry, so we're kind of into the last 10 minutes of the show, really. So whilst that's super basic right now, I guess the harder bit is going to be deploying a storage account. Well, no, sorry, that's going to be fairly easy. We can do that nice and simple and go from there. But the tough part will be creating a page that we change each time.
No, you say tough, but here's one I made earlier, sort of. Well, in the sense that I played with this a bit with OBS in the past, because I wanted to do some live captions on the bottom of the screen, and instead of actually having to put different speaker names in as separate OBS elements, what I wanted was a single element that then the text got changed on it. So I did do a spike a while back where I was making use of Signalr to provide the data to a web app. So the suggestion is that if we had a simple placeholder web page in a separate web app, so we create a new project, and then we use from this function app, if there's an ability for us to push that response message via Signalr to a listening browser, then you can then make the connection between the HTTP post and the browser.
I like your idea. I mean,
stuff like tunnels and stuff at that point. So if you're sat behind,
I don't think so. I think it just works, doesn't it? It'll drop back to whatever it can possibly do. My question with that is that there's got to be a live open Signalr session from somewhere, and none of this will be live and open. You'd have to have something like a durable function or.
Well, that's it. So my kind of thinking there would be. So let me clear the canvas on the whiteboard. Would be so what we've got now is we're doing a push to GitHub. That's sending off its payload. That's being consumed by our function app. Ooh, that's a terrible A. But if we're going off to Signalr, we're still going to have something on the user machine to consume that, right? So sure, would we not be keeping it super simple? Would that not be better?
Investigate? Can we not investigate whether durable functions is what we should be switching to?
Is there not more cost involved in that though?
Cost? Was cost part of this show? I didn't remember.
Well, on account of we're doing this with no budget, yes.
Oh, yeah. No, we're completely forgetting. We're completely forgetting. There's an Azure Signalr Service, though, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. But I guess my thought is you still got to have something at the client machine for it to connect to the Signalr Service, regardless, right?
No.
So we can still we don't need the function app to be durable. You're right, Pete. We could go to the Signalr Service and use the consumption plan there.
Yep.
But at the user end, so where we've got OBS and that kind of thing, we're going to have to build something else to pull that through, right?
Yeah, that's easy.
Whereas
it'll just automatically
if we went
connect.
down the route of let's just create like an index.html that sits in a storage account, we don't have to worry about any of that. We just have to go to a URL and open that as a source.
We could have
as soon as you do that, it'll
could
render.
have a show poll to crowdsource the answer to this, and then we'll build it next time.
Yes, because we are into the last few minutes of the show.
We are. I mean, I think you have your Azure function sitting there, and then you've got your Signalr sitting there, and then the OBS is just tapping into a web page, isn't it?
Yeah.
Down here.
Yeah.
And this will just automatically connect to that Signalr service whenever it's hit from whichever session and just render out. Funnily enough, if we had Martin Beebe on the call, Yeah, this
You're
would
doing
just
it in that same sort of fashion instead, but we're not putting everything on the user machine. It's still going to be a web page ultimately.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is the Azure function just sends out to the I think it might be a bit more complicated than that actually, because the Signalr service will broadcast out to all of the connected clients, but you will only see that if you're already connected. But that's fine, isn't it? Because we'd have the OBS source working all the time. And
yeah, I think you just do a binding from the function to the Signalr service, and then if there were any listeners, it would push out at the time.
Yep. I've posted a link in our Slack.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess it's a good excuse to use the new static web app hosting preview as well, because we could knock something together in Blazor super quick.
Yep. If you had Martin Beebe on the call, that's exactly what he was doing last night, was Signalr with Blazor web apps. It was just a Blazor web app, not even a static web app.
I've got that that live chat demo thing that I did that we could use, that we could pull from.
Yeah, it should be super simple, that part. Yeah. And then you just render out those messages as they come down out onto the screen, and Bob's your uncle. So next show, that will be the task. We've got 4 minutes. But, I mean, we could have a quick look in the portal at the Signalr service and just have a quick look at that, and perhaps even get that spun up in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, so let's one of those in here right now. So Signalr Service. So we want to create a new one of these. And we'll call it Azureish.
I've always called it Signalr rather than Signalr.
It could just be that I'm really lazy. The way I speak.
I think the capitalization points me to separating the R, but then again, I have trouble discerning between Azure and Azure, so it's kind of which side of the pond we're on, I suppose.
Maybe.
So we'll put Signalr into free for dev test, because it's our dev test environment. Service mode. Should we go for serverless? Make that exciting.
Yeah, do it.
Review and create. We don't need to do anything special with networking. Connectivity method. Yes. Where is my? Oh, it's still validating. That's why. So let's give that a minute.
I've used Signalr in the past. In fact, I've built client applications for updating machines with Signalr, and that works really well. But I've not used the new, and I say new, actually, this Signalr service has been in Azure for a while now. So I've not used that, so it'd be good to have a play with this.
So if we go to, let me find the thing, it's lgulliver.github.io, I think it's my blog. And then I have somewhere way down, serverless chat with Blazor WebAssembly and Signalr. If you ever wanted to have a play, Pete, there's I think I've also got a GitHub repo for it. So let me scroll past all of this.
Is this using the Signalr service in Azure? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. In fact, the way we've just set it up as well. So we've got the service. There it is. Yeah, Blazor WebAssembly serverless chat demo.
Wicked.
So that uses pretty much all of that. Where we're using Signalr service in serverless mode with the free tier, Blazor WebAssembly, and then you can have multiple clients where they're chatting to each other as well. In fact, I think I had a GIF. There we go.
So there's a Signalr service binding for Azure Functions that allows an Azure Function app to publish messages to clients connected to the Signalr service. Clients can connect to the service using a Signalr client SDK. It's available in .NET and JavaScript. So yeah, we can do that from the Function app as well. This is what we want to do.
The one thing that we might need to look at is the fact that will work for new updates, but in terms of if we loaded it fresh for the next version of the show, we wouldn't necessarily have something to display. So we might have to think about state as well.
Yeah. So we can figure this out in between this show and the next one. So I guess now is a good time to do a quick recap, actually, of what we've done this time round. So what we've got, there we go. In fact, Signalr has just deployed.
Whew, good timing.
So On this occasion, what we've done is we've talked about the solution that we're wanting to build, which is a commit watcher that's going to process webhooks from GitHub. We've got that working. That's what it's doing. It's listening out for it, and we're getting our message out. Our next steps is to go away and hook that into the Azure Signalr service, which will then update. Probably fair to say some form of Blazor WebAssembly page to listen out for, so that it's completely stateless the whole time. So next time we come on, we can do that. In fact, the next time we are on will be the 10th of November, I believe, at 12:30 UK time. Looking at the calendar, still a Tuesday, and we'll be doing our show every other Tuesday.
And hopefully we'll have that small strip at the bottom of the screen displaying some Git.
Yeah, at the end of the next episode.
That's very true. So yeah, we'll get that. We'll build that up next time. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show, and we'll come back next time. We welcome any feedback that you may have, or if you also want to input into the solution as well. Like I say, you can go straight to GitHub right now on github.com/Azureish live. And then see the go to /Git watcher, and you'll be able to open PRs and tinker with stuff yourself, because we've unfortunately run out of time today, but we will see you all again on the 10th. Once again, thank you very much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we will see you soon.
Cheers.